channel. For today's video, I'm going to be decluttering my makeup palettes. Not all of them, like let's not get ahead of ourselves, not all of them, but it has been months, maybe even years since I actually went through my makeup palettes and figured out which ones I actually use, which ones I need to get more use out of. So I decided today we are going to be decluttering some makeup palettes. My hope is to get a good chunk, an amount that we can ship off to be sold, and whichever ones I really love, I really use, I will end up keeping. It was about time. This video is like long overdue, so that's what we are going to be doing today. Make sure you guys are subscribed before you head out of this video. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get started with the makeup decluttering. Okay, so we are going to start with this bottom drawer here. I have my Ulta box here, and any palettes that we are going to be selling, done with, are going to go in here. One that we have here is the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded palette. I literally just got this palette a little bit ago, so this one is staying. A Dream palette by Sigma and Beauty Bird. It comes with a bunch of these colors. It's a fairly new palette, and again, I love it. Limited edition, so we are going to keep this one. I have the Tarte Pinup Girl palette, and this was one of their releases from their holiday collection. This one I'm actually going to sell. This one is the Eyeshadow 15 palette. This is from MAC. It just comes with a bunch of these colors, and this is one of those palettes that I should have known not to buy because it's a bunch of cool tones, and I don't really use cool tones that much. So this one we are going to be selling. This is the Highlight and Contour palette by IBY Beauty. This one came in a boxy charm of mine. It's just like the Anastasia Contour palette. I do use it. I do like it. I just don't know if I'm going to keep using it. I'm going to go in the maybe pile, and then we will come back to it. We have the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. I also snagged this during the holidays for Christmas. I absolutely love this palette. This one we are keeping for sure. It is a custom palette that I made myself. I actually got this case from eBay. A bunch of assorted shades here. This is like my personal palette. I always travel with this palette. I actually think all of these are Makeup Geek except this one and this one right here. I love this palette. I use this palette all the time, and yeah, so we are keeping this one. I have a palette from Shop Hush. This is the Bad Habit Retro Love palette. It was supposed to be a dupe for the Anastasia Subculture palette. I do really like this palette. I don't have a palette with a bunch of these colors, and this one I do get fairly good use out of, so I'm going to be keeping this. Okay, here we have another custom palette. This is the Sephora Z palette. I got it on sale. And then inside are Ofra Cosmetic Shadows that I got in a boxy charm. And then we have two shadows here from MAC, Wedge and Cork. And then these are Stilazzi shadows. These are actually really good shadows. They're very pigmented, so I do like those. Might do is I might keep these Stilazzi shadows and these MAC shadows, and then put them in a different smaller palette that I have. Get rid of these because I don't use those Ofra ones, and I'm only going to keep the Stilazzi shadows. Next we have the Too Faced Natural Matte eyeshadow palette. I really loved this palette when it first came out. I just don't use it as much anymore, and I just don't get enough use out of it. So maybe pile. One I picked up last year during the holidays. This is the Too Faced Best Year Ever for 2018. You get a bunch of colors here, really pretty shades. I use it, but I don't use it a lot. I do like it, so I think I am going to be keeping this one and then just try to use it more. Up top here we have the Life of the Party palette. This is from Tarte Cosmetics. This one has been the one that has been replacing this guy, only because you get 3 blushes. I would definitely use these. I don't use this one this much, but I do love the highlighter in here, and I do love the bronzer. And then I love that this little guy can be used as a clutch because this is removable. So I really do love this one. In the corner we have the Pure Soiree Diaries, or Desires? No, yeah, Pure Soiree Diaries eyeshadow palette. It's this palette right here, a nice amount of neutral tones. I would definitely use all of these shades. The problem is I don't use all of these shades. This is not my favorite eyeshadow formula, just because I think it's a little bit trickier to work with. So this one I do think is time for it to go. Here we also have the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty palette. Like the shadows, I have used them before, I just have not used them recently. Again, only because they're good shadows, but they're not my favorite eyeshadow formula. So this one is also going to be going by. Here we have the Too Faced Chocolate Bar Palette, the original one. Love this one. Tons of good colors, tons of good shades. Too Faced has one of my favorite eyeshadow formulas. I'm going to be holding on to this. We'll also be keeping the Too Faced Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar Palette. Love this guy. I will hold on to this one for sure. Next up, we have the Too Faced Sweet Peach Palette. The colors, I really do like them. I don't get too much use out of it, but I am going to be keeping it just because I really do love Too Faced shadow formula. When I do want a more peachy look and stuff, I tend to go for this palette a lot. I do like this one. I am going to be keeping this one. Last Too Faced one that I have here is the Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette. Don't get a lot of use out of it. I tend to use my other Too Faced shadows, but I do like a lot of these shadows. I love all of these tones right here. It has more cool tones, but I do like the formula. I do still get use out of it. I think I am going to be holding on to this one. The other Tarte one I was talking to you guys about, this is the first one I got from them. This is the Bling It On Amazonian Clay palette. A bunch of really nice blushes. This one was kind of the first one that really started my love with the Amazonian Clay blushes. I tend to not use as much because I like the colors in this one better. So this one is going to be going, and we are keeping this guy. We have the Desi Katie Friendcation palette. Really gorgeous packaging, full colors inside. I do get a lot of use out of this one, and it has really nice like glittery shimmer shades, pops of colors and such. And I mean, it's dose of colors. Their formula is amazing. Desi Katie can do no wrong, so we are keeping this guy. Here we have the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. I'm sure you guys know I'm going to be keeping this one. It's a bunch of warm tones, a bunch of pink tones, some reds, some oranges. Love this palette. One of my favorite palettes. I just get so much use out of it on the daily, so this one we will be keeping as well. We have the Pure Sculptor palette. When I first got this palette, I really loved it, and I love their highlight shades. Their shades are really glowy, very pigmented. And the bronzer here, the contour, is just a little bit too dark for me to use, and this one is super dark that I can't use that. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna sell this one as well, only because I love the highlighters in this palette. They're really good, but I can only use the highlighters in this one, and I have already a bunch of highlighters in my highlight drawer that if I'm just gonna keep this for highlighter, there's probably no point. So the ColourPop All I See Is Magic palette. I love this palette. It's super unique. These are also tones that are right up my alley with the like burgundy, the like kind of tangerine-y orange shades, and then some darker shades right here. This one was also limited edition, so I will be keeping it. This one. Here is the ColourPop what is this one? Yes Please palette. Love this palette. Again, a bunch of warm tones. I use every single one of these shades, so love it. We'll be keeping it, and it's one of my favorite affordable palettes because I think this whole palette was $15 and it performs so well. Here we have the MAC Burgundy x9 eyeshadow mini palette. Really nice burgundy purpley tones. I do like them and I have used them, but I just don't get enough use out of them. MAC isn't my favorite eyeshadow formula, to be honest, so that one's gonna go. The Winky Lux Kitten palette. This is another palette I got in my BoxyCharm. Really beautiful colors. Some neutral shades here and then some pops of color here. I do like this palette, and I love these tones right here. They're like the most unique eyeshadows I've seen. Look at that iridescence. That's like super pretty. It's like a really like pale pink purple, and then you have this like glowy iridescent shade. So I am going to be keeping this palette just because I have not come across any shades like this. Here we have a Skin Frost from Jeffree Star. This is the Eclipse one. I like it, but I don't use it as much, and I'm not particularly a huge fan of Mania MUA anymore. So I think this one I am going to be selling as well. Here we have an OG palette. This is the Urban Decay Naked Basics palette. I think this was the first Urban Decay palette I ever got into. It is heavily loved and heavily used because when I first started getting into makeup, like I said, this is the first palette I had, and I would use it all the time for work. The Venus shade is a really nice shimmer shade all over the lid. I still get use out of this one, so this one I will be keeping. Their BoxyCharm and Pure Cosmetics palette. Nice, beautiful shades. All these other colors I have, and I don't know, I just don't really use this palette that much, so this one is going to go goodbye. Here we have the Lorac and Pirates of the Caribbean face palette, and I think the blushes are super pretty, but I don't use them as much, only because I only like this one. This one is too light for me. This blush is too shimmery, and I don't really get use out of those highlighters that much. So this one is also going to go. We have the Meet Matrimony palette from the Balm. For some reason, I do like this palette. It has a bunch of matte tones, a lot of really nice essential mattes here, nice pink in color, but for some reason I don't get so much use out of this. And even when I first bought it, I used it, but I never really used it that much. So something about this palette just does not draw me in. Something about it is just not giving me vibes. So this one's gonna go. Here we have the Too Faced Cocoa Contour Palette, Chisel to Perfection. I love it. I love both of these. I can use both of them. I love that one to set my under eye area. This is a nice highlight shade too. It's not too out there. It's not too bright, not too highlighty and glowy. So yeah, this one we are keeping. We have the Tartiste Pro Amazonian Clay Palette. Really gorgeous packaging with the gold. I do get a lot of use out of this palette. I feel like this palette was one that was very underrated. I really, really like it. So this one we are keeping. Is the NARS Narcissus Cheek Studio palette, and it looks almost unused and in pristine condition because it is pretty much used and in pristine condition. The bronzer I like, but it's the Laguna bronzer. The other one is Paloma, which I like, but again, I just don't use it as much. And then I like the blushes, but they're not my favorite in the world. I do like it, but I don't get much use out of it. So that one's gonna go. We have the Urban Decay Naked Basics palette. Again, another find because it was on sale at Ulta. And I initially really liked it because it has really nice neutral tones, but not a huge fan of the Urban Decay formula. Only formula of Urban Decay that I really have been loving is their new ones. The Naked Heat, Naked Reloaded, those are really, really good. Every other palette I've tried from them, oh, and the Naked Basics one, but every palette I have tried from them, every other palette, I'm just not impressed. And this one included, don't get use out of it, so this one's gonna go by as well. Here we have the Persona Identity palette. I really love it. Tons of good tones, very pigmented as well. These are all tones I would use and I have used, and I really like this one. So is the Too Faced and Vegas Nay Stardust palette. Really like this palette a lot, but I just feel like I have all of these eyeshadows in other palettes and I just don't reach for it. So, oh, this one's gonna go. This is the Becca and Jaclyn Hill Champagne Collection Face Palette. I've debated about this one if I want to keep it or let it go. Love this packaging. It's really, really nice. Really love the blushes and I do love the highlighters, but I do like it. I love the formula of this one and I do love the packaging, so I'm gonna keep it. Finally going into this little corner here. This is the Tartelette in Bloom palette from Tarte. Love this palette. I just recently talked about it because the Tartelette Toasted one was on sale. One of my favorite palettes for sure. Love all these tones and shades, so she's gonna stay. Here we have the Venus Lime Crime palette. I do love all the tones and I love how pigmented it is, especially this one, Rebirth. I need to like create a look with it because it is calling my name. I do like it. So yes, I'm going to be keeping this one. This is from ColourPop. This is the You Had Me at Hello palette. I think I did get this one in a BoxyCharm as well. I do like the tones. They're tones I would use, but I feel like I have these in other eyeshadows, so this one is going to go. All right, here we have the Sigma Brilliant and Spellbinding palette. This was before Sigma like stepped up their eyeshadow formula. If I'm going to be 100% honest, it does not even compare to the Warm Neutrals 2 palette or the Wildflower palette. But this one was the first Sigma palette I bought, so I think that's why I kept it for so long. But I don't use it, so this one's gonna go. This one is the Morphe and Kathleen Lights palette. I mostly picked up this palette because I love Kathleen Lights, and there were some shades that I would totally use, but I don't think I would use most of these. Like, this is such a boring palette. Like, I'm sorry if you really love this palette, but I just feel like it doesn't get my creative juices flowing, so this one's gonna go. This next is the BH Cosmetics Carly Bible palette. This is the original 14 eyeshadow palette. I do like this one. I use this one all the time, but I know I bought the deluxe version too. So I'm going to put this in the maybe pile and see which one of those to keep because I don't think I need both. Here is a palette from Ofra. These are all Makeup Geek eyeshadows. I do really like Makeup Geek shadows. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to take this one and then just keep this palette. So I'm going to get rid of this Ofra palette, sell that with the Ofra shadows, and then I'm going to put all the Makeup Geek ones and my Still Aussie ones in here. And last but not least, in this drawer, we have the Anastasia and Nicole Guerrero Glow Kit. Love Nicole Guerrero, love Anastasia Beverly Hills. I use all of these shades as eyeshadows and highlighters, so this one is staying as well. So in drawer number 1, we have 3 Maybe eyeshadow palettes. We have a total of 17 eyeshadow palettes that are going to be selling and going in this Ulta box. We have a bunch that we are keeping. So let me clean this out, reorganize this, and then we will be back to do my second drawer. I think we did really well on that one. Moving on to this drawer. This one's gonna be madness. So let's get to it. Right at top, we have the Too Faced, the palette I got for the holidays. I really do like a lot of these shades. This is gonna go in the maybe pile just because I do like a lot of these shades, but I feel like I have a lot of these colors in other palettes. So this one is from Shayna B, Miami. This one I just recently got, so we're keeping this one. This is the Shayna B eyeshadow palette, which I also recently got. I really do like it as well. It looks just like this. Kylie Peach palette. Yeah, that's the one. I do like this palette. I don't use it as much. I don't know why. I like all the tones in here, but I feel like her eyeshadow formula isn't like that amazing, to be honest, and I feel like I have these tones somewhere else. I'm gonna part with this one. The LA Colors I Heart Makeup Contour Palette. I love this guide. This one was only like $7, and it's one of the best contour palettes. Love it, so we are keeping it. We have the Pinky Rose Cosmetics, the Transition palette. So this is actually a palette that my friend Mariana Ramos did. Well, Mariana Delgado now. Did. Looks just like this. I like all the eyeshadows in here. I don't get too much use out of it, but I do like them, and I do love this transition shade. So this one I will keep. Here we have the Too Faced, the Little Black Book of Bronzers. You get all of the bronzers in here. I do like this one, but for some reason I don't get much use out of it. I don't know why. This one is gonna go in the maybe pile because I do really like it, and that one was a limited edition piece, so you can't buy it anymore. See the Master Palette by Mario. This one I kind of fell into FOMO. I do like this palette. I love Anastasia shadows, but this particular palette I just don't get much use out of because I think they're a lot more like darker tones, like really bronzy tones. So I don't know. I don't get much use out of it. So I think I'm gonna part with this one, to be honest. Next we have the Dress Yourself Tamana palette from Anastasia. This was a limited edition palette. You can't buy it anymore. I do actually really love this palette, and I get a lot of use out of it. And then I love this shade Venencia. It's a really beautiful blue, so we're keeping her. Next we have the Self-Made palette from Anastasia. This one I know is gonna be going away. I love this pink champagne color, but I have it in another palette, and aside from that one and Isla, I don't really use it as much. A palette that started it all. This is the Anastasia and Amrezy palette. I love this palette. Get so much use out of it. It was limited edition. We're keeping her. So love that one. This is the Shadow Couture World Traveler palette from Anastasia. I love this one as well. Have the pink champagne that I like there. The chic color is really nice as well. I really love this one, so this one is staying. Is the Aura Glow Kit from Anastasia. This one is also barely used just because I bought it because I really liked the colors initially, and I was trying to be like all like, you know, creative and like step out of my comfort zone, but I would just never wear these highlighters. I honestly won't. So why I bought it, I don't know. Okay, here we have the Makeup Revolution Ultra Blush Palette. Looks just like this. I do really love all these blushes. These are all blushes I would wear. I just don't get much use out of them. One's gonna go as well. Here we have my Sigma Warm Neutrals Volume 2 palette. I love this palette. It's so good. It is nothing compared to the first eyeshadow palette that Sigma made. It is so pigmented, so intense. Really good. If you guys are on the fence about this one, I totally recommend it. So this one is staying. And here is my deluxe edition of the BH Cosmetics and Carly Bible palette. Oh, I don't know. This one is gonna go in the maybe pile just because I need to figure out which one I use more, which one I like more. This one definitely has a lot more things in it. Go in the maybe pile, and then we'll figure out which one we want from those. This is from Juvia's Place. This is the Masquerade palette. Huge eyeshadow pans. I love all of these shades. I don't have any shades that are like this. Very pigmented. Really pretty. I love how big these pans are, so we're keeping her. Next we have the Morphe 35M Boss Mood palette. I love a lot of these tones, and surprisingly, even though there's more like olivey tones up here, I still get use out of it. I really like it. This one was a gift from Mall of America when I worked with them, so we are going to keep her. Jaclyn Hill palette with Morphe, like, come on. Need I say more? I surprisingly, say what you want, whether you like Jaclyn Hill or not. I love a lot of these tones. I would wear a lot of these tones, so we're keeping this one. The Pixie and It's Judy Time palette, really, really pigmented. Shimmer shades right here, even the matte shades, really pigmented. I get a lot of use out of this one for a lot of like neutral or like day-to-day looks, so we're staying with her. This is affordable as well. This is the Pro Fusion Pro Pigment palette. I do have makeup looks with this one. I don't have anything in my collection that looks like this, that has really nice pops of pink and purples. I don't get a lot of use out of this section here, if I'm going to be 100% honest, but I do really enjoy this section right over here, and it was only $5, so we're going to keep her. This is the Lorac Mega Pro Palette 1. Love this palette. When I was freelancing, I would actually use this palette a lot just because you have a lot of really nice tones to work with. I love the range in this, and I do like this shadow formula more than their regular Lorac palettes, so I'm going to keep this one. Here we have the Violet Voss Holy Grail palette of warm tones. I really do like them. I don't get that much use out of them, but I do love a lot of these tones, and I feel like I have gotten rid of some warm tones, so I'm going to keep this one. So this one is the Violet Voss Laura Lee palette. I really did like it a lot, but I don't get much use out of it, and then just Laura Lee hasn't really been my favorite for a while, so bye. Lorac Mega Pro 3 palette. Really nice tones, a lot of really nice tones, more like light, neutral, everyday shadows. I do like the formula. I do love a lot of these tones, but I don't get much use out of it, so we're gonna put this one in the maybe pile. So this is the Lorac Pro 2 palette, or Mega Pro 2 palette. As you can see, I have not gotten much use out of this one. I really have not. I don't know why. I do like it, a lot of the shadows, but I just don't use it. I feel like for all of these tones, for the shimmer shades, I have other shimmer shades that are better. So this one's gonna go. This one is the Fuego 28 color collection palette. Looks just like this. I think this is from City Color Cosmetics. I created a pride look with this one. I really do love it. However, this one is not the most pigmented eyeshadow palette. Like, I constantly had to keep going in to build the color. I love that it has so many colors. I don't have really colorful palettes, so I like it about this one, but it's just not the most colorful palette out there. I think I'm gonna end up picking up the James Charles one, so this one's gonna go. This is the Morphe 35O. If you know me, you know I love warm tones, love this palette, so we're gonna keep it. Original Anastasia contour kit. Have not even gone through it just because I like it, but it's not my favorite contour palette, if I'm gonna be 100% honest. I don't get much use out of these shades, but I do use the contour shades. It's on its last leg, so I'm gonna keep this one. I got in a BoxyCharm. This is from Alamar Cosmetics. I love all of these shades here. This one, El Malecon, is such a unique like silver shade, and this one, Celia, wow, these colors. So this one is staying. Morphe palette. This is the original Jaclyn Hill palette. I should sell this because I probably get a lot of money for it, but I do love it. I love all of these colors, so she's gonna stay. Here is the first eyeshadow palette Dose of Colors ever came out with. This is the Hidden Treasure palette. I like it, but I don't get much use out of it. These shimmer shades, though, like, that's crazy pigmentation. I keep them around just for the shimmer shades when I want a pop of color. This one is staying. Those shimmer shades are insane. Like, you cannot beat those. One of the first palettes I got, this is from Cargo Cosmetics. This is the Vintage Escape eyeshadow palette. I just loved these two. Hot Cocoa and Autumn were really, really good shades, like transition shades to blend out with, but I just don't use it as much anymore. I don't. I have not used it for a while. The packaging was kind of cool too, but I just don't get use out of it anymore, so that one's gonna go. Bondi Shade and Light palette, the contour one. I do like it. I just don't use it as much, but I do like it. I do like all of these, so I gotta switch it out and use it more, but I'm gonna keep this one. The Kat Von D Shade and Light eye palette. Again, this one was kind of like FOMO made me do it. I heard so many people talk about this palette when it first came out. So many people wanted it. But I only use this squad if I want to be 100% honest, and it just doesn't really excite me or intrigue me, so she's gonna go. Here we have the Sigma Wildflower palette, and I think this one was the one that really kind of started stepping Sigma's formula up. I use these all the time. This is a really nice highlighter if you want something a little bit more subtle. This peony blush is gorgeous. I use this one a lot as well, so I am keeping this one. And then the last palette is another palette from Shop Hush. This is from Bad Habit. This is the Athena palette, and this is supposed to be a dupe for the Desert Rose palette. I love all of these tones. I get so much use out of them. This Gleam color is really pretty and unique. So is Epic. I get so much use out of this palette. I really like it. I don't have anything in my collection like this, so I'm gonna keep this one. All right, so I actually decided that I'm going to be not keeping this one because I don't need these many highlighters. The other one also has 4 highlighters, and I'm just never gonna go through it. So this one will go in the sell pile. Decided that I was gonna part ways with the Best Year Ever palette just because I do like a lot of these shades, but let's be honest, I have not used it and it's in pristine condition, so this one will also go. All the ones that were in the maybe pile, I decided are also gonna go in the sell pile. When I rearranged all my palettes, these are all the palettes I have in the second drawer, and then there's still space here, and there is all of this space back here. Else is in this palette up here, and it's not overflowing like it was before. So I think we did a pretty good job at being realistic as to what we're gonna keep, and everything else is gonna go in the sell pile. Okay, so that is it for today's video. I think we did a pretty good job. I was pretty brutal about what I'm gonna be keeping, and I definitely compressed my makeup palette collection down to like my essentials, the ones I truly love. If you guys wanna see more decluttering videos, just go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, all that stuff is gonna be left down below for you guys, as well as coupon codes to help you save some money. And I will see you all in my next